Hello guys, and welcome back. We are now going to do a quick tutorial about how to produce in your settlement. I was going to include this in the main tutorial about settlements, but just realized it was too big and no one wants to hear me talk on and on, so I'm just separating this out into a second tutorial for you. Alright, so we've built our settlement that is really only good for food and timber, primarily timber. We want to start making timber, but uh-oh, that is not going to work. If I mouse over timber, it says I need 162 food. Okay, no problem. I've got a farm. I click on my farm, and to make food with timber, oh, that's not going to work either. I need 480 timber, and I have none according to this. But wait, I do have timber. I have 6,528 timber. So, why is it saying I have none? Well, there is a reason for that. Currently my timber is located in my flight center. My farm does not use the flight center's inventory. It has its own, which you would never know, but believe it or not, the farm has its own little warehouse, as do every single one of my timber mills. Even my landing strip has a hangar, or has a warehouse. Everything has a warehouse in this game. So the question is, how do we link all these together so that we don't have to click like maniacs just to get anything done? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. Let me show you how. You might have noticed early on when you placed your settlement this thing called the telephone. The telephone allows the pieces of your settlement to talk to each other. So what we're going to do is we are going to put that telephone in every single piece of our settlement. Now, just as my previous tutorials were with enhancers, we're going to do the same exact thing here. Click on my telephone. I'm going to click on the move or check mark. It's going to ask me how many I need. I only need one. No reason to do more than that. Okay, now if I click on my flight center, there is one telephone. Now I'm going to do it for all my production buildings. Oh, but wait, there are no telephones here. So, in order to access the telephones, I'm going to hit Shift L, which basically means open your inventory plus open the inventory of the parent flight center. Going to drag this over, pretty simple. Again, I only need one per building, so I'm just going to do one. Now that it's in my farm, I click on it, and I click on the move icon. And now you can see there's my telephone on my farm. Now I'm going to do the others real quick. Okay, so now we have a telephone in our flight center and every single one of our timber mills and in our farm. You might notice now the farm will allow me to make food. 98 food for 480 timber. Now before we do that, let's find out. For 162 food, we will get 2,752 timber. So basically 2 poles of food is enough to make this much timber. And 1 pole of timber is enough to make 3 or 4 things of food. So you'll see how it's self-sustaining. By the way, another pro tip, if you're in a governed area, which every area is governed at this point, including mine, you're going to see, for example, region Daria Hills. My governor is this guy down here with a weird name. And I am level 15 right now as of this tutorial. There is a guide out there on Steam, but I'll just give you the quick rundown. If you are level 1, you take 30% tax in your production. If you're level 30, you take 1% tax in production, which means at level 15, I'm right there in the middle, 15% of my resources are taxed out of here. Now, I believe that is already factored in right here. 2752 is my maximum pull minus 15%. So you can, if you're a good mathematician, you can just do that math in your head, multiply 2752 times, I don't know, 1.15 or something like that, and you'll find out what I really could be pulling if I was not getting taxed. Good old taxes, right? Okay, so that is the incentive to raise your level. While the downside is it's going to cost you a lot of gold and time, the upside is you're going to produce more and more as you level up. It's an interesting system because it actually punishes people for being lower level and encourages them to advance quickly. For those who want to maybe just use timed skills and don't want to pay gold, that might be a major complaint about pay to win, blah blah blah. So that's that. Doesn't bother me though because it really doesn't cost much gold to get to at least level 10. You'll be making that gold in no time if you're placing a settlement. Okay. Oh, and that also shows you that even at 16% food, we're making a positive net production of timber. So anyone who says, oh, you got to have 75 or 80% of both resources or whatever resource you want, they're full of crap. That is not true. 50% is great if you're starting out and you can't find anything better. Don't buy into the lies. Okay, there's one building I missed, and that would be my actual warehouse that I built. Think of your warehouse as your inventory overflow. Okay, you notice how I'm having issues dragging this over? Again, as of the time of this tutorial, there's a glitch in the game where chat will sometimes mess with your ability to click and drag things. So if I close it, no problem. This also happens with reloading ammo, Strex, anything that requires click and drag. Doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. Check mark, yes, and there we go. I have not connected up the anti-aircraft platforms. I will connect the flight center, although really, I don't really need to connect the flight center to the docking port because when you unload from the docking port, it automatically goes to the flight center. So save yourself a telephone. I have 4 telephones left, so I could connect up my remaining my anti-aircraft platforms. That way I can quickly load ammo into them if I wanted to, but it's not really necessary. You can load them up with a ton of ammo in their inventory rather than a little bit and then putting a bunch in your warehouse. So I'm going to save those telephones for future production. And right now telephones are very hard to buy in the game. Some people are just building settlements and breaking them down immediately just to salvage the telephones and materials. That's up to you, but in this case I want to conserve. Okay, so I'm producing... Oh, I'm not producing timber because I haven't produced any food. Well, let's make some food. You'll notice it says 21 minutes and 38 seconds for 98 food, which means I can queue up to 4 food jobs. That's a total of a little under 400 food, something like 394, I think. And once that 394-ish food is done, I should have enough to do 2 timber mills. Well, I don't want to do that. I want to always have more food than I have, not more food, but enough food to constantly run my timber mills. So, let's build a couple more farms. And let's pay to win. I'm like a card player giving gambling tutorials to people who really shouldn't be gambling. You do not have to pay to win, obviously. Don't do that if you're a poor person. Or if you're under 18 and don't have a job. Anyway, so now we've got 3 farms going. I've got this farm all queued up. Oop, I can't queue this one up because look, I forgot my telephones. We know how to fix that problem. Okay, all my farms are connected. I can now start pumping out timber. Well, pumping out food. Of course, for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to fast forward this process just so you can see how it works. Normally, we would set these all to produce, and then we have about an hour and a half of production ahead of us while we can go and do other things. Currently in the game, there is no automated production. I can't set these to produce all night while I go to bed. They will only produce as long as they're queued up for. I don't know if they're planning on putting that feature in, but right now that feature does not exist. So be very cautious about building settlements in the middle of nowhere, because it's going to take you a long time to go to and from them, and if you want to continue to invest time into them, you're going to have to sit at that settlement, or you're going to have to use gold to rush things. Alright, now, just to show you, we have... Oh, excuse me. Food is still at the farm, by the way, but because it uses a telephone, and because my timber mill uses a telephone, I don't ever actually need to move that food into the flight center or into the warehouse. I can just keep it in the farms and just immediately start producing timber in every one of these places. By the way, if you want to produce more timber at once, you're going to want to do one click per timber mill, per sawmill, I think they're actually called, woodwork shop. That way I have 3 coming out at the same time rather than 1 coming out every 20 minutes. Looks like I've already used up all my food, so I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loads of timber at 2,700, so about 10, 11, 12,000, give or take. Actually, probably closer to 13. 13,000 timber for just a little bit of food. Which is a good thing, because look at this, we are out of timber. We can't produce more food, so yet again I'm gonna kind of pay to win here, so that when I leave this settlement it won't be hopeless. This is where the majority of your time out of your ship is going to be spent once you start building production facilities. Okay, now if I look at my flight center, bam, oh sorry, let's try that again. Bam, there's all my wood. It's still on my timber mills. Now I can produce even more food, which will let me produce even more timber, which will let me produce even more food, and the horrible downward cycle of addiction continues. That's it for production, everybody. Oh, one other thing, your warehouse is really your overflow. You can do whatever you want with it. Also, your warehouse is a good way to let friends take things from you without stealing from you. You can go here, go to your flight center, go to authorization, permissions. Now, currently the permission system is pretty rudimentary. They've mentioned they are going to improve this, but for now, the way around it is, let's say you're in a clan. You would be setting permissions for equals of the clan, which is the game's way of saying fellow clan members. If you're a clan leader, to you, they're called my clan members. I don't know why that is. It's kind of silly, I know. But anyway, you would be setting permissions to equals of the clan or to friends, depending on what you're doing. So let's do friends. Let's say I want all my friends to be able to take things out of my warehouse, put things into my warehouse, but I don't really want them to operate my buildings, and I don't want them to touch my hangar. Well, no problem. I can leave that unchecked. I can leave operate buildings unchecked. I can make it so that they can't install enhancers, like more telephones or just stupid things that I don't need, like a telescope. They can't uninstall enhancers and, for example, steal my telephones. They can't construct buildings, and they can't destroy everything in my base and then go laughing as I cry. Because, you know, there's no log if someone does something to your base, so be very cautious with your friend permissions. For our clan, we make it so that people can deposit and withdraw from the warehouse. The warehouse is sort of a common area where you can put and take things, and then the person who owns that area can then move the items using Shift L from the warehouse into their flight center, which is sort of like your protected storage that nobody can touch. Okay, and with that, I really am done. You don't have to listen to me anymore for the rest of this video. And have a great day, everyone.